Welcome back to another episode of What Are We Watching? Fellas, what's going on?
What's up, boys?
Yo, what's up?
How's everybody?
Blue?
Keith starts off with a little cough. That's good. Yeah. So we up front want to tell everyone that Jack's a little nasally today. It's a little allergy is bothering him. Yeah, he sounds like the professor from Ferris Bueller today.
Got the allergies. Oh, that's so cute.
My allergies are kicking my ass.
We gotta get Keith like a soundboard, like on the morning radio show, like.
I don't even know why I say the things I say, so I apologize.
Great. All right.
What are we watching, fellas?
So we are covering the 2003 comedy Old School, directed and co-written by Todd Phillips. This is a good one.
Yeah,
this is a very funny movie.
It's like the one that kicked off that whole genre, basically, of that group.
Yeah. Who else? What other movies would you say were in that like genre? Like, if you liked this one, what else would be? Like, I think this is like Step Brothers is still in this vein.
Oh yeah,
of
Anchorman.
Anchorman.
Because Anchorman's 04, Step Brothers 06, I think.
So we're just saying Will Ferrell movies.
But then
with Vince Vaughn.
40-Year-Old Virgin.
40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, 40-year-old
Yeah.
Wedding Crashers.
Oh, Wedding Crashers. Is that also 03? I think it is. Somewhere like that. It might be 04. I don't know.
If
only we had a way to figure that out. But Todd Phillips also did Road Trip, which is I would say the end of the 90s era. It's 2000, but I would say it's the end of the last era before this one.
That was that's another one I haven't seen in a really long time.
Okay, so I did look at his filmography. I think I've seen all his movies, which is
really
Wedding Crashers 05.
05.
Yeah.
Oh, I was way off.
So yeah, this one
you
I'm gonna have to
way
whip
the
myself
fuck
in the
off.
basement again for that one.
See, that would have been perfect if you had a
Keith's mic
soundboard.
Oh no, not the whip!
So these are all.
Everybody's like, yeah, he's whipping himself. It's happening. I can't believe it. Hopefully, my wife doesn't come.
Anyone, feel free to clip any of these sounds along the way.
Okay, so
Old School.
His tops are I would say Old School and Road Trip.
Todd Phillips, you're talking about, the director.
He did the Starsky and Hutch, but School for Scoundrels. Did you see that one?
That was good.
Billy
Yeah,
Bob,
that was really
He
good.
wrote Bull Rat, the story for it, which actually was nominated for an Academy Award, which I did not believe.
That's pretty great.
I think someone's messing with Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And then
funny.
Hangover, Due Date, Hangover sequels, War Dogs, and the Joker movies. So I've seen all.
So he's crushed it.
What the hell?
That's like
Hangover, I love
he does all
Hangover.
that comedy stuff, and then he just goes the darkest comedy possible with the Joker, and then he's going to follow it up with the Joker musical. I'm like, what's up with this guy?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Is he a
insane.
magician?
I know, like
He
after
is.
all those like comedies and stuff, Due Date had a little drama to it, but then he like just goes, "Yeah, I'll do Joker."
Yeah, he'd be like, yeah,
Okay,
I
but
thought
sure.
Due Date was kind of
no
sick.
big deal.
I like
Robert
Due
Downey
Date. It was,
and
it's like a
Galifianakis.
modern day planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah, and I think that's the second time we said that on this pod.
Oh,
So we're gonna
Crazy. So
copyright
we're
that.
not lying.
big
That's
Due
it.
Date guys here.
Yeah. So apparently this movie was actually in the works from, seems like a script called Frat House, in 1998, premiered at Sundance, and this basically got him connected with Ivan Reitman,
I think that's how you say
who
it.
did
Reitman.
Yeah,
He's
got
got
who
a
produced-
fucking catalog, bro.
he produced Animal House, and he saw and basically wanted to collaborate with him and was like, we got to write a frat movie. And that was kind of like the beginnings of this movie, which is kind of shocking to hear that 5 years before. I guess it takes a while to make a movie. Like, it makes sense, but
that dude, like directing too, so he produced that, but Ghostbusters both. Twins, Stripes, Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, yeah,
he's a crazy director.
good thing I just probably butchered his last name too. So that's
I
awesome.
looked at his name for years and I've never heard someone say it. So
I've never,
I'm
just
gonna say
read
right.
it.
I
Yeah.
usually say Reitman.
Reitman?
but-
I don't know. What
It's
what do you guys
E for
think?
I
Comment
don't-
or wherever you're listening.
Yeah.
If you can't
And we're
comment,
never gonna-
then
I'm
just
never
say it.
Let
If
us
I
know
see-
for idiots.
I don't want
you
to see
know.
an interview with him.
we
I don't
are,
want to
but-
hear his name said. I'm just gonna go with some. Do you
With
guys
your
have
own
that with certain
blind-
actors and actresses you've never actually heard their name spoken?
Oh yeah, and you're like, and
you're
I don't want to.
I know it, and then you say it
Yeah.
out loud. Then you just watch somebody look at you like you're
Yeah.
absolutely so stupid.
Yeah.
I feel like we do that with each other most of the time we're recording. You're like, well, what did you say? And we're like, I don't know. Before we start talking about the plot of Old School, what were some other movies that you guys watched? So we obviously, every week or every other week, we watch of the show. But then what else did you guys watch? Who wants to start us
So
off?
I just got back from the Florida Keys, you know. So
Hell yeah, dude.
Didn't get to watch much.
International
No, but,
travel. No, that's in the United States. That was so dumb. So stupid. International
but
Man of Mystery.
We
over here.
watched Man of the House. Not the Tommy Lee Jones one. The one
that's what I thought you were going to say. I was that's
the one with Chevy Chase and Jonathan Taylor Thomas, which is hilarious. It's the second Jonathan Taylor Thomas movie I'm dropping in this 2 episodes.
It's a thing now.
But that one's good. I used to watch that a lot. And then I watched Red Dragon. I finally watched that, and that movie was fucking awesome.
What year was that one? Was that a newer one, or is that older?
Well, that was the third Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know.
2002.
Yeah, and it's Edward Norton, Harvey Keitel, Ralph Fiennes.
I mean, that sounds pretty great.
It's really good.
And it's the prequel, so it's the remake. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a prequel until I started watching it. That's definitely a watch. On the plane ride to the Keys, I watched Kindergarten Cop.
Who was your daddy and what
hilarious.
does he
you
do?
You just said that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which that movie was great.
Who's that guy with that ponytail that the main dude has?
Oh, yeah.
It keeps me up. And I think about that thing.
Like, I'm looking for Chris. But he's like, he's got like the ponytail.
Yeah, he's like, look at me. I got the same kind of hands.
I never saw that. It's just one of those ones.
That's the first time.
Yeah, that's just one of those ones that I saw Twins, but I never saw that one.
That movie's so good.
And I know, and I didn't know it was
like an elementary school watch.
I didn't know it was that much.
It was like required reading
too.
Yeah,
it's so good.
But that's definitely a watch.
What does he do?
And then the last,
like, what the fuck? How do they?
It's not a tumor.
Yeah. It's not a tumor.
And the last thing I watched started season 3 of Only Murders in the Building.
Ooh, great show.
And Paul Rudd's on there now.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
I love him.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
But Keith, what about you?
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
So I'll kick it off. Watch the Fallout series. That might be the best show ever made.
Looks cool. Like I saw the ads and stuff.
And Goggins. Well,
dude,
he's in it. He's
what
incredible.
A guy!
Incredible actor.
Is he like the star?
He's like this.
He's one of them.
Like there's a couple.
He's one of them.
Storylines that come together.
Yeah.
It's probably like the second tier to Ella Purnell, who's the main character. She's probably the main, right?
Yeah. She's the main billing. But do you know what it reminded me of? Which is funny that I bring this up. I'm just kind of going off the fly here. Walter Goggins was in Hateful Eight. I think their plots of them all being separate and coming together, it follows a very similar thing, and I just thought that was cool that Walter Goggins played another Western
Tarantino.
And he's like a Western. Theater-wise, I saw The First Omen and Immaculate.
Okay.
They're literally the same.
Yeah,
movie.
you were saying that. They were the same.
I can't believe it, dude. They came out 2 weeks apart. They're set in Italy. They're basically the same thing, except like there's one small difference. And then we also saw Abigail, which is not related to those two, but I can't think of 3 movies that are all out at the same time that could be more alike. Like out of those 3, I say watch that one because it's like John Wick vampire. Not John Wick. I don't know how to describe it. Just think of those over the top exploding bodies. And
were they all watches or?
Abigail first, then Immaculate, then if you need to see The First Omen still, just see it.
You just covered the 2 things that I already watched.
I'm so sorry. We should have.
I was gonna try and seamlessly be like, oh, and Keith also watched, but you already said it.
Fuck.
No, it's okay. So I basically just blew through Fallout. Incredible show. Played the game. I bought Fallout 4 again. Incredible. And then Baby Reindeer. But anyway, before we get into the plot of Old School, which is the main event, did we want to talk about did you guys have any cool production notes beforehand?
Shit. Can I shout out
or anything?
There is a podcast. They're called Give Me Back My Horror Movies, Give Me Back My Action Movies. They did this movie Virtuosity, which I just watched this week as well, and I saw they did the episode, so I listened to it, and their episode was hilarious and awesome. So they do a cool mix of cool 90s action shit and horror as well. And I just think it's like a fun podcast. Yeah. So I wanted to give them
shout out to those dudes.
Yeah, everybody go check them out.
So the budget for this one was roughly $24 million, and this box office, again, the numbers that I'm looking at may not be entirely reflective of the whole picture, but 87.1 million is the number that I am seeing right here. So I think it was overall pretty good success. I think with the people that it was starring, I think it was kind of this is an ensemble cast. There's so many people that pop up in this movie that is
insane.
Yeah, do you want to go? Does someone want to go over the?
Well, we go to our
so I'm going to say
Nasal Jack for that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is. I think Luke Wilson's in this one.
I'm sorry.
So I don't even.
I'm so sorry.
I'm going to say let's cut it down to maybe to the top 10 because there's
I know, yeah.
Literally, there's I'm probably looking at 30 names here.
It's crazy.
Well, so I was looking. So I like the top billing thing. So Luke Wilson actually got top billing. Yeah, because he was in some movies before this.
He's also the main character in the movie.
Yeah,
too.
Right.
The whole story starts with him.
So it actually goes Luke Wilson, Will Ferrell, and then it says and Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
So those are the three mains. Jeremy Piven plays the dean.
Jeez.
He's fucking so funny.
Yeah.
Ellen Pompio's Nicole. Juliette Lewis is Heidi.
She's only in it for like a couple seconds.
I wish she was in it longer.
Yeah.
I love her. She's so
Leah
awesome.
Ramini is Laura.
Yeah.
Sean William Scott plays plays the animal wrangler. Matt Walsh and Artie Lang play.
Walsh and Booker. His
play like his coworkers that want to get in the frat.
Andy Dick plays an sorry for any relatives listening, an oral sex instructor.
Dude,
he's uncredited, but it is
the blowjob guy.
Yeah,
oh my god!
it's
We know this guy. He's gonna teach us. I'm like, I always forget about that.
Rob Corddry's in it. Like,
it's crazy because he's hilarious and he has like no part in this movie. But he's so funny.
But that's the main cast. But like, there's so many people in this.
Oh,
like,
it's like. It's incredible. I love it. So we can do it. How we feel about diving into the plot? Should we just get it started?
Well, can we just say that Ellen Pompeo? I'm trying to figure out what she's from because I'm like, dude, why is she so familiar? She's Dr. Gray.
From Grey's Anatomy. Yeah,
I've seen the first season of that.
Well, there's 400 of them now.
I know.
So.
I was like trying to catch up. A couple years ago, I was trying
to
catch up. Get into it.
It was just too many.
It's honestly entertaining, but like I was just like, it was daunting. There's no way.
Yeah.
It's like
it's just too much.
Again. Like, did we say Brian Callen's in it? Because he crushes as the waiter. He's the waiter. He's the dude Avi.
Oh yeah.
He is hilarious.
I didn't say
that's
that.
all I'm gonna.
Yeah,
that's the only other. That's the other little one that he just destroys me.
Yeah, he is pretty funny.
He's like the Godfather.
The Godfather. He's like, no, it's on.
He's like, this guy.
He's not good here.
You're having coffee with a living legend. It's just like
Luke was like, no.
He's like,
shut up.
But anyway, so into the plot.
Yep.
So, returning home early from a business trip, real estate attorney Mitch Martin, which I'm already getting sidetracked, but that corporate retreat was I guess when I was younger, I was like, oh, I guess it's just like a business trip. But he's like, dude, I got 2 free drink tickets. This is fucking amazing. And I'm like, oh, this hurts now that you're actually in corporate America.
He's like, I think I'm going to leave early. And he's like, you got your badge? It's good for 2 free drinks.
So he's basically trying to sneak home to surprise his girlfriend, who's played, or his girlfriend named Heidi. He sneaks in. He bought her a little bear. It's really cute. He discovers that she's up in her room. She's watching some inappropriate things, and he's like, "Whoa,
classic
all right."
student films. I've seen that one.
He's like, "I'm not judging."
Yeah, he's like,
"Oh, I seen that scene. I know that one."
He's like, "Let's go with this."
And he basically thinks that she's like, "Don't say anything. Let's go with this." And so as he's basically trying to be like, "Ooh, this is about to do some wild stuff," 2 naked people walk out of the bathroom with blindfolds.
The fact that they're blindfolded is unbelievable.
And the guy, it's basically, he's like, what the who the fuck? And the guy's blindfolded. He's like, come here. And bear hugs him.
Yeah, the scream he lets out is so funny. He's
and you basically find out that when he is away on business, that his girlfriend hosts orgies. Yeah. And so they're talking about it in the kitchen, and which is the funniest piece of dialogue. He's like, be honest with me. Tell me this was a one-time thing. She's like, well, do you want me to be honest, or do you want me to tell you this was the first time?
He's like, what is wrong with you?
And then he's on his way out, and he hears a knock at the door, and there's another guy who is Todd Phillips.
Yeah.
He basically an uncredited role to himself, and it's basically a guy. And Jack, you had the line.
Nick's like, I'm not saying this.
He opens the door. He goes, "Hello, I'm here for the gangbang."
And he's just like, great. And so that is the intro into old school.
Such a good cold open. Is that the cold open? I guess there is that little like you said, the work retreat is a mini, but that is a unbelievable opening to a movie.
Unreal.
I can't believe that.
It sets the tone for the whole movie, really early on. Yeah. So then he then basically ends it with his girlfriend. It's the next scene. He's at his friend Frank, who's played by Will Ferrell. He's at his wedding, and you're kind of just establishing his friend group at this point. So he's at his wedding, and he an old high school crush is there, and this is basically him just trying to pick up the pieces. He's reconnecting with a lot of people, and he basically soon would move into a house near a university. So he's basically really early on in the movie. I would say in the first 15, 20 minutes, he the orgy here for the gangbang. Then
get the key points.
You know,
hit the high notes.
Frank gets married. Will Ferrell gets married. And Vince Vaughn is just like, dude, you're making a mistake. Like, he's up at the altar.
Oh, yeah. I know Jack has lines from that.
The wedding scene is so funny because he's like telling him not to do it. He's like, real smart, Frank. You're one vagina for the rest of your life. He's like, way to think that through. And then he's talking to Mitch, and he's like, man, you're so lucky you found a girl so sexually enlightened like Heidi.
They're all at the altar while Vince Vaughn is talking
the girls
about
are looking
this.
over like, what the hell? And he's like, I wasn't looking for a girl like that. He's like, and he goes, Columbus wasn't looking for America, my man, but that seemed to work out for everyone. He's like,
and this is another, like, this Vince Vaughn line. This is like, so another movie, Dodgeball. Like, these Vince Vaughn one-liners, like, dominated for 10 years.
Quick. Like, he's so quick with it.
Someone told me recently they don't like Vince Vaughn. I was like, are you just, like, what's wrong with you?
That's not possible.
You just don't like to laugh?
Yeah. You don't like joy?
Like, you don't even have to like a certain type of comedy. He just wrecks.
He's very good.
Oh, I know.
He'll hit you in anything. He'll hit you in a rom-com. He'll hit you in a non-rom-com.
Get you a man who can do it all.
He's been doing, like, some drama, like, crazy movies, too, lately.
What was that one that you recommended where he kicks his head off into the toilet?
Oh, yeah, he goes that way.
What movie?
Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Brawl in Cell Block 99.
That movie is unbelievable.
If you want to see a very violent, serious Vince Vaughn movie with no laughs, check out Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Things happen to skulls in that movie. I couldn't even
write it down.
They do something that is so fake at one point because the other stuff is so unbelievably real, and it feels like it feels disgusting. It
feels not good.
Same director as Bone Tomahawk, but go ahead.
Yeah.
The other funny part about the wedding is when they go back to when they show them dancing, and it's that band that's in the hangover.
Oh, the Dan band.
Dan band. It's like, fucking every time I
turn around,
dude.
Every now and then,
This
I
song.
Fucking see the look in your eyes.
And Frank's like, what the fuck?
This ruined Bright Eyes for me.
Yeah,
because every time I
you have to sing it like that.
I fucking need you more. I have to throw fucking in every time now, and I'm like, dude, I can't.
Yeah.
I couldn't like sing that to my lady or like say that out in public.
Oh no!
You're at a wedding. You're like, you're at the mic. I fucking need you more.
I do like the scene. It's like they'll keep flashing back to that band, but it's that same song and it flashes back and he's like, ole, 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 and you're like, what is that?
Wait, what's
and
the
Vince
second?
Vaughn is like, yeah.
What's the second song they do though? Because they don't say fucking in it, but they crush it. Oh my god, what was it?
You're my lady.
That's it, yeah. They kill that song.
Because that's when they're sitting there, and then Mitch is all fucked up, and he starts giving the speech.
Yeah.
He's like, you get home early from a business trip, and two naked people jump out of your closet, and he's like, and it stops right there, and then Vince Vaughn grabs the mic, and he's like, and it starts right here. He's like, that's what he's trying to say is, love is blind.
Yeah. He's like, I'm a man of few words, everybody.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not a talker.
Yeah.
And then he meets...
Dr.
Gray. And then she gives him a coffee. She's like, you need some of this. Then he just dumps it in her lap.
He spills it all over her, and basically Mitch just makes an absolute ass.
I know we got to move on, but can we describe his move here? Because this is unbelievable.
Yeah, the under the dress. He's basically trying to be...
There is nothing between him and her at this point.
No.
That's the way you would clean like a tablecloth. You'd be like, let me move it away from the object.
Yeah, you put your hand on a tablecloth and
but he's just like blacked out drunk, and he just reaches
under her tablecloth.
And Leah Romini comes up, she's like... Inappropriate.
He's like,
Mitch, inappropriate.
He's like, can you put a good word in for me? She's like, yeah.
She's like, yeah, sure.
So back to the Dan band really quick. They did a tour, and you could go see that those people that did, like the dude and that entire band. They actually play shows as the Dan band. They're a legit band, and they did a tour, and they came to Philly like 10 years ago or something like that. My dad's like, we gotta go see the Dan band. And if you look up their set list and stuff, they literally play all of those songs, like all of the funny versions of those songs, and that's their whole concert.
That would be cool.
Yeah. But anyway, back to it.
Damn,
so
yeah,
the next day, Mitch is the next scene. Mitch is moving into a house near Harrison University. It's basically set in upstate New York. It's one of the first conversations. It's like, man, how did you get this house for so low? He's like, yeah, technically it's not student housing. Like, it's some professor lived here or something. Like, I got a great deal on it. And they're like, they're basically just talking about like, man, this is so cool that you're single. Like, we're gonna have so much ass in here. Like Vince Vaughn keeps saying that.
He's like, some professor died. Vince Vaughn's like, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's like, that's awesome.
And then Frank tries to give him the bread maker.
Yeah, to new beginnings.
Yeah. See, I actually gave this to you for your wedding.
Yeah.
He's like,
this
exactly. This model.
He's like, no, that exact one. It's so good. But anyway, so Mitch's friend Bernard, basically they throw him a huge housewarming party. They call it Mitchapalooza, which I think is awesome. Basically, there's just chaos. It's basically all college kids. Vince Vaughn's character in this movie owns Speaker City, which is like a fictional. I think it's supposed to be a playoff of like Circuit City at the time. Yeah. But he's like, I own like 5 of these. You can tell he has a lot of money.
He said he's worth $3 million or something.
He's like $3.5 million that the government doesn't know about or something.
Yeah. And so he basically is like, Mitch is like, oh my god, like how'd you get all these people here? Like you got this awesome sound stage. Like what is there? Like is there a student band coming on? He's like, yeah. I rolled out all this. He's like, I got $100,000 worth of equipment up there. I rolled it out for a student band, and you find out that it's Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg and Warren G.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So I wish they did like an actual good song. That song kind of sucks.
Yeah,
what they do.
Yeah.
Like I think Paper Up.
Master Plan. Yeah,
it's so bad.
Yeah, it was fine.
No, but like
it's such an iconic scene in the movie. For
someone that loves Snoop Dogg and Warren G, they have like unbelievable songs.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They'll just throw like an actual song in here. It's like, that song sucks.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg's just going like, say what, say what.
Yeah. But kind of separately, Frank. It's a scene right before this. Frank is talking to his now new wife about going to this party, and she alludes to the fact that he used to be called, quote, Frank the Tank. And she's like, you've come a long way.
Yeah.
Let's not ruin it at this party. And he's like, honey, no worries. And so separately...
That's when he takes he's working on his car, and he's like, took the restrictor plate off the old Red Dragon here.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I made you some iced tea. He's like, nah, I got a fresh beer up here.
He's not even drinking it because he's not supposed to drink.
I love that he's just going straight into like married, like, oh honey, no, I'm good. I'm working on the car outside.
Yeah. Like, he's got Whitesnake at the fucking loudest volume.
Yeah, it's.
He's like, I have Mitch's thing. He's like,
I had to turn
skip it.
I had to turn my TV down during that part.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus, dude.
Like,
why is it so loud?
It's very loud.
Yeah.
So then, basically, they're now at the party. They've Snoop Dogg. It's a rager. So these. Frank's walking through and he's getting a soda, and there's some kids, they're smoking weed, they're doing like beer bongs, and they're like, hey man, like you need to hit this beer bong, like come drink with us. And he's like, no, I actually promised my wife I wouldn't drink, I got big plans tomorrow. And I was talking to Keith about this before we started recording the other day. Like that scene used to be really funny, but like I relate to that scene now. And it's like, no, we actually got a pretty nice little Saturday. We're going to Home Depot, going to go to Lowe's. I don't know if we'll have time. But
they're looking at him like, what
the fuck are you
staring at him. So yeah, he's just droning on about like, just like the most mundane, like, yeah, we're, it's a nice little Saturday. Me and, wife going around town. And the kids are just like, yeah, so anyway, like, you're going to drink, right? And he's like, all right, I'll do one.
And he does it. He's like, once it hits your lips,
he's like, one
it's
more.
So good.
So
I had this conversation the other day where I was like, she's like, oh, you can stay out on Friday night. And I'm like, I honestly don't want to be out that late. She's like, why? I was like, because I had like waking up like late on Saturday because you had to like stay out late. That fucking sucks now.
Yeah, it's just not
like staying up at your house is like a totally different vibe. But like staying out somewhere else, coming home late, you're like, fuck this.
Like, this is gonna be cool. No, I agree. And basically, so now Frank is just being a huge degenerate. He's drinking a ton, and then everyone's chanting Frank the Tank.
He's doing
he's like doing robot moves and stuff. So he then, the next scene, Frank shows up on stage after getting an idea that he's going to go streaking. They're going to go through the quad up to the gymnasium. So Frank comes out.
You see the little feral penis bopping around.
Yeah, you see Will Ferrell come out naked on stage with Snoop Dogg. And he calls him Snoop-a-Loop, which I think is really funny.
Dude, I don't know if
Snoop-a-Loop.
people say that a lot.
Yeah, it's It's pretty funny.
There's
and
like
then
things in this movie are like ingrained in people's brains.
I know.
Frank falls and gets up like ass facing the crowd, but he's bent
yeah.
at the waist, and everyone's like, ah.
So and the guy in the green hat tries to like get him off stage. He's like, it's cool. Bring your green hat.
Bring your green hat. He's like, come on, everybody. And he's got like his high socks and his like New Balance running shoes on. It's just I think this is like it's probably one of the most recognizable scenes. Like we're going streaking.
And how tall is he? He's like
scene.
6'4",
he's a tall dude.
6'5",
yeah,
right?
he's a big guy. And so it's the next scene. Frank's wife, Leah Remini, and all their friends are in the car. They're just like, "Oh yeah, that was a fun little girls' night we just had." They see Will Ferrell running down the street naked, and they're all like, "Oh my god, look at this asshole!" And it turns out she pulls up next to him, and it's Will Ferrell, and she's like, "Frank, get in the car." And he's like, "No, everyone's coming. They're back
She's
here."
like, "Who's streaking?"
Everybody's doing it.
I love how she's getting quieter and quieter as she gets closer because she's like recognizing his
why are
body.
you
She's like the
slowing down?
Terminator. She's like getting a body scan. She's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
How do I explain this to my girls? I can't speed past it.
Yeah, and
that's
so,
my husband.
She's like she basically is like, get in the car, and he enters the car ass first, which is awesome. And then Leah Remini
the girl in the middle's like, ah!
He's just like, move over.
And then Leah Remini just goes, cold out there, huh, Frank? And then he just looks down. And she's like, please stop.
Yeah.
So that is like basically it's not going great for Will Ferrell and his new wife. So back at the house, it's the next day. Mitch wakes up in bed. He's with a girl named Darcy, a young woman.
That's Elisha Cuthbert.
Yeah. What a
she's like very recognizable, but I couldn't tell you what else she's been in.
Yeah.
She was in that I think she was in she was in The Girl Next Door.
Yeah.
She was in House of Wax, but she was also in Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Okay.
She was a big time.
And
24. I don't watch that shit, but that's
okay.
I don't watch that shit.
She's Kim Bauer.
So if you love terrible things,
we love fucking Kiefer, but I just have not watched the fucking show. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, Darcy, she's basically a girl that Mitch met the night before. They hit it off. They end up sleeping together. He finds out that it's his boss's daughter, which happens, I think, a little later in the movie. But I just think it's
this is brutal.
And
but
she's in high school.
Yeah, but it's really funny because Mitch is like, you can tell he has like no idea. He's never really had a one night stand, and he's like, do I call you? Like, what do we do now? And she's like, you gotta chill. Like, we were just having fun, like, yada, yada, yada. And then she leaves, and he's like, I love you? I don't... like, it's just such a funny throwaway line.
And it seems like she's going to be in college, at least.
Yeah, she's like, I have classes, I have to go, but it's... Yeah. Anyway, so the friends, they're sitting down in the living room and they're just kind of going over everything like, oh man, that was so cool. That party was sick. But then they're actually visited by an old acquaintance, Gordon Pritchard, who is the dean of the college, but it was like a friend, a kid brother of a friend that they used to like ridicule. The first thing that Vince Vaughn says to him, he's like, oh yeah, you're Cheese. And he's like, no, it's Gordon Pritchard. He's like, oh yeah, Cheese. We threw you in a dumpster once, didn't we? And he goes, I got out. And he's like, oh, that's great, man. That's cool.
They're like, Cheese.
Cheese. And he basically explains to them, like, hey, I hope you had a really nice time here. As of this morning, this house is rezoned. Sucks to be you guys. Like, thanks
you have
for
a week to get out or something.
And then there's a really funny throwaway line that my brother and I say to each other. Like, he goes, hey, can I ask you a question? And the dean goes, absolutely not, but thank you and have a great day. And he just walks out of the house. It's just such a great like throwaway line. So he basically they really don't know what they're going to do. And then Mitch comes home later in the day and basically finds Vince Vaughn with a bunch of people, and they have the idea, we're going to start a fraternity. They can let us stay here if we're a fraternity. Like, technically, by the rules, we have to do fuck all for the school. Like, we literally just exist, and that's their only job.
But right before that is the therapy scene.
That's right, with Frank and his wife. Yeah, you want to talk through that scene?
And they're like, you're in a circle of trust here. You can,
it's marriage counseling. And they've been married for a week, which is... wild, but
so he's like,
he's like
the other night we were out to dinner and
you went to the Olive Garden, lovely dinner.
He's like, I started.
Wait, Olive Garden slams.
It really does.
He's like, and the waitress came by and I start thinking, what kind of underpants is she wearing?
Outdoor, it's just generic white penny cotton.
He's like, well, what if it's a thong? He's like, what if it's silk? What if it's something cool I don't even know about?
Yeah.
And she's like looking, and she's like, oh my god. He's like, I thought we were in the trust tree.
With the circle.
I like where then he goes, like, no, it's okay. Just keep going. Like, why is he gonna keep going?
And then he's like, I don't know where. He's like, I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah. He's like, I guess I'm just a little freaked out that there's only gonna be one person. And he just like motions over to his wife. I'm gonna sleep with one person, for the rest of my life. Like,
but then clearly it didn't go well because when Mitch gets home, he's in his driveway. He's like, "Hey, I just thought I'd crash here for a night or something."
Yeah, he's just got all his shit in his hands.
No, it didn't go well with like the
didn't go too well.
Yeah, like, that's some other things.
Yeah, and some other stuff.
That's when they go in.
And that's when they
has all the kids in there, or the whole crew.
It's like guys. It's not even kids. So they basically, like you said, they're going to start a fraternity, and they're in. They're like, you know what? Fine, we'll do this. Like whatever. I love that Vince Vaughn is literally just the catalyst for everything in this movie. He's like, guys, we got the Godfather, Mitch, right over here. And everyone's like, dude, oh my God, like, it's an honor to meet you. And you're like, Vince Vaughn has such pull over everyone in this movie.
And then he's looking at him, he's like, you can tell he's like, this is the first time they've called me that. Like,
yeah, he's like, what's up, who?
His name is Beanie, which kills me.
Dude,
what is that name?
It's wild.
There's a great line that I say all the time. And it's actually, have you ever watched Big Bang Theory?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's Wolowitz. Yeah.
So he raises his hand, he goes, I have a question, and Vince Vaughn goes, yes, from the guy that's probably not going to get in. Yeah. And then he's like, and he goes, I go to school here. He's like, okay.
Okay. Yeah. He's just instantly done with this guy.
He just literally, like, dismisses him so bad, dude.
Yeah. So they're basically exploiting a loophole in the university. Bernard basically turns the house into a frat house. It's open to anyone. They get like basically a group of people that's like the inaugural class. And there's a really great scene where it's like, Pritchard is there, the dean, and he's like, they can't do this. And the one guy's like, actually, as it turns out, they're very good with paperwork because one of them's a lawyer. Like, they basically have like, this is what happens when you have like working dudes with careers. Like, we're gonna fucking find loopholes. They're actually very good with paperwork. Like, so they basically have it like dialed down.
And Pritchard's like, are you a stand-up comic now?
Yeah.
So is this what we do?
Yeah. He's so good in this movie.
And when they're talking about the frat, that's the scene where they do the earmuffs.
Yeah.
But also,
Vince Vaughn's
like, I was thinking like, in this room, like sand, wall to wall. He's like, I got a great sand guy. He's like,
sand or bubbles,
foam. I don't know.
Yeah, foam. That's what it was.
So yeah, Vince Vaughn. He always has his like. I mean, he's married with kids. He's like always. He's talking about like, man, we're gonna get like these parties are gonna be disgusting. And like his little kid in a soccer uniform is like right next to him, like the whole time. Which is
he's like, do you think I like coming here and hanging out with 19-year-old chicks?
You know, away from my wife and kids.
Luke Wilson's like, kinda. But he's like the earmuff thing.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I just want to fucking sleep. He's like, why you gotta do it?
Why you gotta do it?
Right in front of the kid. All you gotta say is earmuffs. You can say anything.
He's like, shit, piss. Yeah. He's like, shit, fuck, yeah.
And Frank's like, cock, balls. He's like, all right, Frank, I'm just making a point. We don't need to celebrate it.
Yeah, we don't gotta. Another line that I say, not to derail this again, Frank, it's like the next day where they're trying to pitch it to Mitch, and he's like, I got a bunch of guys out here that are like willing to sign up right now. And he's like, didn't you have a great time last night? And Frank goes, I had an awesome time last night. And he goes, yeah, we know, Frank. The whole town knows we had a great time last night.
He's like, I'm asking Mitch if he had a good time.
And my buddy Kev, in college, we would like, you go to a party or something the next day. I'd be like, how's everybody doing? Like, oh, that was pretty cool. And my buddy Kev would always go, I had an awesome time last night. Like, it was just such a great line. So they basically, they have the class of people that they're going to take into this fraternity. And among them is, they're basically, they're kidnapping them. They're doing all sorts of wild stuff. And the one guy is Blue. He's a World War II veteran. And he goes, what is this guy, like 9? And he goes, oh, that guy's Blue. He hangs around one of my stores. He's legit.
He's like, the old man won't shut up about it.
He's like, it's all he's talking about. So they do a really awesome roundup scene where they get everybody, and then they do like a hazing event, basically.
Well, when they take the one guy...
the wife's
they're in a grocery store parking lot. Yeah.
And Will Ferrell's like, if you tell anybody about this, we'll kill you. And she's like, ooh. He's like, I'm just kidding. We'll have them back by tonight.
And they all have like pantyhose over their heads.
fucking kill you.
Kill you.
I was like,
and she's like, I'm kidding. Right? He
And she goes
backs
like,
down. Yeah, and as Keith was saying earlier, they are the master of puppets. Is
dude, the way that it fucking hits when that
they're in the
scene
black
changes.
panel van, like it's so good.
Oh my god! I guess he jacked up.
It really does.
Yeah.
So they
that van is insane.
Is
what,
nuts.
Hold on, holy shit! The fucking moves they're making in that van.
They're running shit over. Like,
yeah, they're like running over hedges and shit. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like a performance van. That thing
It's so
cooks.
good. Yeah. But they later that night after they round them all up, they have a hazing event. And Mitch does a great line. He's like, "Gentlemen, you may be wondering, like, this is going to test." You can tell that Mitch has kind of grown into this Godfather-like role, and he's like, "We're going to test you psychologically." And Will Ferrell just goes, "Ah!" He yells at one of them, and he's like, "Whoa, dial it back, pace yourself." And he's like, and it's basically typical hazing. But then Will Ferrell goes, "Blue, do you trust that we provide you enough rope?" Because they basically have cinder blocks tied to their balls, or their
penis.
Their penis.
Schlongs.
Yeah. So Mitch basically says, like, you may be asking yourself, why are you standing on like a bridge right now? You may be also asking yourself, why is there a cinder block attached to a long piece of string, and why is that securely tied to your penis? And he basically says, Will Ferrell goes, "Do you trust that we provide you with enough string to for the cinder block to safely land on it?" And Blue goes, "Sir, yes, sir." And then he goes, "Blue, you're my boy." He goes, "Thank you, sir."
Yeah.
But anyway, so it is. He meets. They're kind of moving stuff in and out of the house, and Mitch's old love interest comes to the door to give him a little housewarming gift. Vince Vaughn absolutely trashes the present that she gets her. She gets her like a CD rack.
Oh, that thing is. What does he say?
He's like, "Oh, that thing's a piece of junk. Stopped selling 6 months ago."
She's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
He's like Beanie.
Yeah, he's like, "What are you doing, dude?"
And then Frank comes out with a blow-up doll.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you think, nurse or cheerleader?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, hey, Frank. That's a nice doll." He's like, "Yeah, she's all right."
Yeah, she's all right. Yeah.
He's like, "I'm just staying here for a little bit."
Just staying here for a little bit.
But
Oh,
then,
that's good.
And then they do the blowjob scene. He's driving. He's leaving her all the messages.
Yeah,
That's right.
He's
Frank
like, "Hi, this is Frank Ricard." He's like, "I don't know if you'd like to get food or if that would be agreeable."
Maybe we could get some frozen yogurt or something. Yeah.
He's like,
so
stupid.
While they're after obviously they're Frank and his wife have been separated for a little bit. While they're in the car on the girls' night before Frank the Tank comes out, they tell her that for her wedding present they got her a blowjob class, like basically an instructor. This instructor is played by Andy Dick in like a bob haircut, red
that
wig.
Haircut is
It's
crucial,
just
bro.
it's just insane. Like that whole scene is.
I want to know, like, did they say, all right,
He's in like a.
you can pick like, your entire persona,
Yeah.
like, and he did that because I feel like he did that.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Like
I believe
they're like,
that.
yeah, we'll let you cook, dude. You figure that
He's
out.
He's playing hungry like the wolf.
Yeah. For he's got them holding various phallically shaped objects to practice.
Dude, they get right to brass tacks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nuts.
They are doing wild things with
It's-
those vegetables, like, instantly.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's no warm up. They're just like,
This is one of those scenes where you're like, this really didn't need to be in here, but it's really I'm happy that it's here because it's
Unbelievable that it's in here.
hilarious.
He's in
Like,
the kitchen. He's like, "Keep sucking, ladies."
yeah. And then so he's Andy Dick. He's basically going to get at the same time Frank pulls up, and it's just all poor timing, all horribly
and
poor
he's
timing.
in the kitchen and he's saying, have you ladies seen the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Penis?
Yeah.
I love the magic. What is it? I love the magic of the flying and the
He's like, I just
martial
love that
arts.
story with the magic. It's, and so Frank basically thinks like it's the way it's shot. It looks like they're Andy Dick and his wife are doing something inappropriate.
Yeah.
And basically Frank's like, what the fuck is? And he goes in and tries to choke out Andy Dick. It ends horribly. Andy Dick ends up like attacking him.
Yeah, he throws him. Well,
Yeah. He, like,
insane
flips
because
him
Andy,
over.
Andy
You
Dick
just
is
made
about
a big
5'6"
mistake.
Yeah.
or something like that. I don't know.
And he just flips him over and smacks him in the head with a frying pan. And that is basically one of the catalyst for, Frank might not be staying. Like, there's some other things going on that are not great. So now it is the next day, and this is the birthday party scene. So now they're at the party for one of Vince Vaughn's kids, and Mitch ends up walking into Nicole's, his love interest. His boyfriend, or her boyfriend's there, and he's basically just like, oh, well, this fucking blows. I didn't know she had a boyfriend. There's a really grimy scene where he basically walks into the bathroom and her boyfriend is like making out with one of the servers or something like that, and
the guy goes, "I guess we're not knocking."
I guess we're not knocking.
I love that line.
He does this super scummy like.
He's like, "It's the bro code. You can't tell."
Yeah, he's like, "You can't do this. This is the bro code." It's just crazy.
He's like, "What are you gonna do? Telling me?
Telling me? Yeah."
Then he wipes his hands, takes that little towel and like shoves it on him. I was like,
yeah, he's like, all right, good talk.
I would have put that dude's head in the toilet. I'm like, I don't care if this is the...
fuck that guy. The dude's a huge tool about it. And so he doesn't want to say anything. He basically is like, I'm not going to... I don't want to ruin this party, basically.
Yeah.
So kind of separately, Frank is there. They have a petting zoo. Vince Vaughn is the clown, which you don't talk about, which they don't mention.
He didn't say, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to dress up as the clown. So, and then you just see him like, oh, my God, I forgot he's the clown every time.
Yeah.
So Will Ferrell at this party, Frank, has like some pretty wild scenes. He's like, hey, is it cool if he maybe just opens one of his presents? And so he tries to give Vince Vaughn's son the bread maker.
And I forgot, we didn't talk about that earlier when he tries to re-gift the bread maker.
Yeah, we did.
Did we say it?
Yeah, Jack mentioned it.
Yeah.
Keith was, he's
Yeah, I was staring at the Sable picture behind you. It was my bad, dude.
That's okay. Just as a sidebar, it's just nice to get Keith out of the house.
I need it. It's like you guys are giving back. You're doing your thing. You guys do like community service. This is one of them. Like, we get him out of the house every other week.
Yeah,
it's just too much to do.
It's not court ordered, but it is tax deductible. So
it really helps out the household. Helps them out at home.
Yeah, give Olivia a break. But anyway,
re-gifts the.
But he tries to give her the bread maker, and he's like, "Yay, it's got 3 speeds."
Yeah. Vince Vaughn's just looking at him.
He just shakes his head. He's like, "Dude." So then Will Ferrell goes over. So that's one of many horrible scenes. Yeah. But I think the kind of the pinnacle of the birthday scene is Will Ferrell goes up to, there's like a donkey or horse or something, mini horse, and he finds a tranquilizer gun in there, and basically the dude who's like the handler.
Yeah, Sean William Scott in like a hilarious mullet.
He comes up and he's like, Frank's just like, holy shit, like, is this a gun? And he's like, that's a tranquilizer gun. And he's like, he's just saying like, yeah, if any of these little fuckers to get out of line, and he like just like tries to like fake out one of the like the horse, and then so Frank's looking at and the guy's basically describing. He's like, yeah, that's the most. He's like, bought that down in Mexico. They say you can penetrate the skin of an elephant from a quarter mile, and Frank shoots himself in the neck like as he's doing it.
Who's ever held a gun like that? It's like he's holding it like this.
And he's like, yes, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's
like, you better the jugular.
He's like, you better pull that shit out, man. That's not cool.
Wait, pull what out?
And so all of the volumes just like drop. And he's like, pull what out? And he's like, you got a fucking dart in your neck, dude.
He's like, is this bad?
Is this bad? And then Frank Will Ferrell has a great line, and he's like, you're crazy. I like you, man, but you're crazy. Like just out of nowhere. So he's like just bugging out. Yeah. Everything's slowing down. Happy birthdays being sang, like they're singing it in a really low volume. It's really kind of like scary.
He's stiff arming kids.
Yeah, he like palms a kid's head out of the. It's like from the perspective of Frank.
Yes.
Like just kind of like Godzilla-ing through this party, and then he falls in the pool. Sound of Silence instantly starts playing as he's just floating to the bottom. And then he has a hallucination where him and his wife make up. His wife goes in for a kiss, and it turns out that the dude, what's his name?
Sean William Scott.
Yeah.
Is giving him mouth to mouth. Stifler is giving him mouth to mouth, and Will Ferrell starts slipping in the tongue a little bit, and they like,
it's like, yo!
And he's like, oh, he just French kissed me,
and kicks him back into the pool. So good.
And that's basically the birthday party scene.
Yeah,
like it's just
wild birthday
it's just
party.
nuts. So from here, they are planning a party. It's kind of like the next. They're back to the kind of the fraternity side of things. They're starting to plan a birthday party for Blue.
Yeah.
It's his 89th birthday, something like that.
Like that, yeah.
So they want to throw him a KY Lube Wrestling birthday party. So he's at work. Mitch is at work, and you can tell that like the lines are starting to be blurred between like he doesn't really give a shit about work as much, and some guys come see him at work and they're like, Godfather, like we can only buy tubes of the KY, like the small ones. He's like, the large quantities are going to take way too long to get here.
I said never at work.
Said not at work. The whole bag of them too. It's like hundreds of them. Like what the.
So it is the night of the party. They're having they're basically a kiddie pool full of lube, and they're wrestling. Blue enters the ring for his birthday, and it's basically these two topless college girls are in there, and Blue has a heart attack and dies. And his feet, he does the classic feet in the air.
The funny thing is when he's in there, and Will Ferrell goes, "Are you sure you're all right with this, Blue?"
Yeah, and before.
And he goes, "Ring the fucking bell, you fucking pansy."
Yeah, I love his pantaloon night outfit on with the little wrestling helmet on.
And the girl's like, "What's wrong? You scared?"
He's scared, and his face, he's just staring.
He's already dead at that point, I think.
Yeah. So he falls. Everything goes silent, and then it just flashes to his funeral, and Frank is singing an acoustic version of "Dust in the Wind" by Kansas. It is such a roller coaster of emotions.
The way they cut in this movie, that they throw a song and as they cut into a next scene, they fucking crush in this movie.
And Vince Vaughn's on the side, talking to Luke Wilson. He's like, "We gotta put a stop." Luke Wilson's like, "We gotta put a stop to this. Blue just died. All this stuff." He's like, "Blue was old. That's what old people do." And then
they die.
This old lady next to him, he's like, "Sorry."
Sorry. Yeah, that is nuts. So it is now, and then Marissa and Frank decide to get a divorce. So this is kind of like the end of her being in the movie, essentially.
Yeah.
Separately, Pritchard is still trying to find ways to get these kids out of here. So he tries to bribe a promising law student trying to get into Columbia Law, and he's basically like, "I know some powerful people, if you figure out a way to get them off campus." So he's basically just trying anything. He is
such an asshole.
Oh, he's such a fucking weasel.
Yeah, she turns around. He's like, "Don't turn around."
Oh yeah, that's crazy. She sits down on the bleachers facing the same direction.
Yeah, and she's
like, Dean Pershing. "Hi, Dean. Don't turn around."
Don't turn around. Are you bribing me? I bribe people every day. I know how bribes work. He's such a weasel about the whole thing.
And I was like, dude, this guy is such an asshole.
Not great. And so he basically they find a loophole. Pritchard ends up finding a loophole, and they say "Oh, you're evicted. Everyone is part of this. You're essentially kicked out of school." They basically leave them a videotape, which is really funny. Him just being "You're out. Take a moment to process this," and then he just takes a sip of the coffee. He's like, "Excellent. Okay."
It's like a will videotape, like what you see in a will.
So he basically, they are at risk of expulsion at this point.
Yeah.
He's basically like, "Oh, Mitch is kind of broken up about it." Vince Vaughn is like, "Oh, whatever, dude. You'll get another place." And he's like, "Dude, we just ruined the life of kids." And so they decide to fight back to try and find something in the bylaws. Yeah. There's a really funny scene after they find out that they're going to be basically kicked off campus. Wincy goes, "Oh, man, my mom's gonna kill me." And he goes, "No, I'm not gonna be that bad." He's like, "No, she said, if you mess this up, I'll kill you. She showed me the knife."
Start crying.
He starts crying. So it's kind of like the downfall of everything, basically. They essentially try and find they find some way around it. The girl that Pritchard ends up trying to bribe basically reconfronts him and is like, "Hey, this, you didn't really do that." So this kind of separately, they found a loophole that said we have a right to try and fight for this, to be tested on basically a bunch of different categories. It doesn't matter if we're not enrolled, we can still fight for it, through an evaluation. So it's debate, it's a written exam, it's athletics, school spirit, and I'm just kind of breezing over.
It's kind of like an updated Billy Madison.
It is,
It's the same kind of gauntlet, was it decathlon or septat? Whatever, I forget what it is.
The academic decathlon from
It's kind of like a play on that, I feel like.
So it's just a great montage of them just Frank does a floor routine with ribbons for the school spirit,
and he does the debate.
He's like,
"What just happened? I blacked out."
I blacked out.
James Carvel's like, "We have no rebuttal."
Yeah, they get it's basically what's it called? A really funny cameo from him.
And the test, they all have earpieces.
Yeah,
and they're like Vince Vaughn's
he's like, "What is the name?" And then they basically, they're like, "B so and so," and all
the two guys, the two coworkers are
that's
in the
Matt
car.
Walsh and Artie Lang out there, right?
Yeah, in the van.
And the best is when he looks at Dean Pritchard, he goes, "Good test, good test."
Yeah, Vince Vaughn. So they basically they kind of crush it in all of the tests, and they're like, man, this is really gonna. We're gonna pull this off. We're gonna be reinstated.
They're like 96%.
Yeah, and basically they were like, hey, he comes in and he's like, guys, you did a good effort. Like Pritchard is basically talking now, and he's like, unfortunately, overall you scored, below passing. Unfortunately, one of your members scored 0 in everything. A Buford Blue Pulaski, and they're like, Blue's dead, and he's like, well,
he's on your roster.
He's on your roster, so it's basically like an oversight that
so they end up getting a 58 because of that.
Yeah, which is like just below passing, essentially.
Doing Frank falls on the fire.
Yeah, as the school spirit. So he does. Dude, he's dressed up as a mascot.
They crush that line dance. School spirit thing, whatever that is.
Vince Vaughn does the iron cross on the 2 rings.
Oh, he's like smoking a cigarette.
He's like, still holding.
Dude, that is crazy.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's that's hard to do, right? Like that's.
I know he didn't actually. There's no way he did that.
It's pretty funny
because they show it like his waist up as he's getting up there. I'm like, oh yeah.
You're like, no, they probably.
That's an insane move, but dude, it's incredible. And then Weezy does the fucking
the vault. Yeah, it's so good.
And then they're like all pissed, and Frank's throwing up.
Yeah, and he's like, whoa.
He's like, I can't believe this. And then Dean Pritchard pulls up.
No. So Megan, the girl that Pritchard tries to bribe, is basically riding with them in in this little fucking golf cart, this little weasel mobile.
Yeah, she comes up with the tape and goes,
and is like, hey, like they've never heard of you, and she's like, oh, sucks to suck, basically, and she's like, I'll bet that they would love to hear this tape of you saying, and it's basically in front of all the guys. And then it's basically just this chase to try and get the tape.
Yeah, because he grabs it and runs.
That's a fun chase.
That is a really good one. Frank ends up recovering the tape after getting his ass absolutely beat in the classroom.
Dean Pritchard gets up and goes, "This man accosted me. You all saw it. You all saw
it." And so they're basically like, "Hey, it's okay, Frank," and he's like, "Yeah, I did good." Like holding up the tape.
A little fucking.
So it's basically like Pritchard is fired. Basically, this is kind of the ending of the movie. Pritchard is fired. The fraternity is reinstated. They actually move into Pritchard's residence, which is like a beautiful old stone building. There's a really great scene where they're taking down the portrait of the dean, and they put up Mitch, the Godfather.
Put it up completely crooked.
Which is just hilarious. Yeah. So Nicole visits Mitch as he's moving out of the old frat house. She basically dumps Mark. There's some dialogue earlier that I'm skipping over, basically, where she's like, Mitch confronts her about her boyfriend cheating, and she's like, oh, well, he said it was you, yada, yada, yada. And she basically comes back and is like, at the end of the movie, like, I caught him cheating. Like,
that scene is hilarious because they go to the restaurant because he tries to turn it on to Mitch and said, oh, he was touching this young girl or whatever. And then that's what he's the Godfather. And, that's a horrible scene because then the girl comes up with the high school thing. She's like, hey, I've been meaning to call you. And it's like, oh my God.
It's like, how much worse could we get with this stuff?
He's trying to say, he doesn't. Because he says, he tells him, he put his hands all over this.
He's like, I was going to say he did that. She's like, oh, I'm sure. And then,
and then it's just like a bunch of stuff goes about wrong. Mark. So it's it is nice that he basically, the movie ties itself together nicely in the end. So basically he only has 12 hours left on the lease. They basically go in there and hook up. So they reconcile. Mitch and Vince Vaughn. I keep just saying Vince Vaughn. And they kind of go back to their normal lives. They're like, that was fun. But Frank stays, and he's like the new leader of the frat, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, they hang the picture, and he's like,
welcome
to the frat. Get me a beer. Yeah. He's like, are you serious? He's like, no.
He's just instantly abusing his power, which is hilarious. And that's basically the end of the movie. There's like a weird
I'm reading this right now. Like, I watched a little bit of the credits and I turned it off.
You've never seen this? You've never seen this one?
But I haven't seen this movie since I was for at least 15 years. So
so there's 4 great scenes at the end.
Yeah, I don't remember this
because he's like. Unless you had it.
I was just going to say the bridge one and then Frank with Heidi.
Yeah.
And those are the two that
Mark's driving and falls on Dean Pritchard.
Kills him. So he's dead. Yeah, he's like fly fishing.
I think you're making this up.
No, I swear. There's an end credit scene.
I don't think I've ever seen this scene.
Then it goes up top to Blue singing.
Singing Dust in the Wind.
You're lying.
No. I swear to God, yeah.
And then it shows Beanie coaching his kid.
Yeah.
And he's yelling at the ref. He's like, you want to take this? You want to make this personal?
Yeah.
And then Heidi comes up to Frank.
And she's like, "Hey, do you want to?" They meet, and Heidi goes, "Hey, do you want to come to a little get together later?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And that's basically the end.
Oh shit!
And he's like,
I don't think I've seen this movie so many times, especially when I was younger. I don't think I've ever seen those scenes.
He's like, "I'm back.
I still don't
back.
believe
No,
Yeah, these aren't real.
but no,
I swear
This is like fake facts.
No,
that's the movie,
and that is old school.
Old school.
All right, I got some phone facts here.
Hell yeah, brother.
So basically,
Sorry, that was necessary. I don't know why.
the Dan band
You don't even
was
say
in.
that.
The Dan band was in Starsky and Hutch and The Hangover.
Oh, that's right. They were, because they sing at the at her bat mitzvah in Starsky and Hutch. That's another great movie. Yeah.
Some of Luke Wilson's scenes were done in one take, and the crew actually started nicknaming him One Take Wilson.
That's pretty wild.
That's cool.
There were plans to produce a sequel, but Will Ferrell and Vince Vaughn didn't want to do it. They said it was kind of the same movie.
Yeah.
I
respect that, honestly. That's a cool move of them to be like, nah, we're okay.
During the KY wrestling song, Louie Louie is playing, which is a nod to Animal House.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that is cool.
And then Snoop Dogg agreed to do the cameo in this film because he wanted to play Huggy Bear in Starsky and Hutch.
Wow, yeah.
So he's like, I'll do this if I can play
That's awesome.
that. So once he did that, he's like, well, Todd Phillips like, I kind of had to do it then.
yeah, Huggy Bear. What a great scene.
That was those are my phone facts. So
nice. All right, boys. Do we have anything else to cover it up?
This is a definite watch if you're still here.
for the real fans.
Do I actually say these things? I think I do say these things out loud. I can't believe it. Okay, well that's all I have.
What? Oh.
When I do stuff like that, I'm actually doing that.
This part of the show is called Keith's existential dread. So, do we do a quote? Should we do a quote to ring us out? I have a quote if we want to do one.
Yeah, do one.
You're my boy, Blue.
That's my favorite part.
That's a good one.
Is that the quote? Is that the official one?
Yeah,
I think so. Is that?
Do it up.
That really sums up the movie. If you just read that, you'd know what it was about.
Yeah, I'm here for the gangbang.
Okay, you know what? That could be it.
Yeah. Until next
I'm here
time,
for the
everybody.
gangbang.